The last thing my father said to me in that house was, I just wanted one more summer. He said it with his hands in the sink, water running. He was washing a coffee cup that was already clean, turning it over and over under the tap. I was 17, holding an envelope I wasn't supposed to have. 4 seconds from saying the worst thing I've ever said to anybody. His name was Denny. He fixed boats at a marina on Lake Erie. He taught me a knot that holds under weight, and for most of my childhood it was the two of us and nobody else. My mother left when I was 6. She moved to Arizona. He never said one bad word about her. What he said instead, in this cheerful voice, like it was a joke we were both in on, was, "Nobody's coming, Jackie boy. That's not sad. That's just math." Sundays were donuts. A bakery 20 minutes east, the glazed still warm before 8. Black coffee in a green thermos with a dent in the side, chocolate milk for me. We'd sit on the tailgate at the break wall and watch the freighters come in. Every Sunday, for about 10 years. When I was 8, I put a fish hook through the meat of my palm. I remember screaming in the truck and my dad not screaming. He pressed his thumb into my wrist, hard, told me to look at his face instead of my hand, and he hummed some song with no words. He cut the barb off with wire cutters from the glove box and pushed the rest through, humming the whole time, and I never stopped looking at his face. That's what safe felt like to me for the next 8 years. A man humming while he does something that scares him. There was a folder in our kitchen junk drawer, in with the batteries and the tape. Graph paper, columns of numbers in his handwriting, the boat lift he wanted to buy, his own dock, his own operation. 15 years of that folder. It never left the drawer. The year I turned 13, my dad quit drinking, and something else moved into the room it left. He started showing up. Truck idling at the curb outside my friend's house at 9 on a Saturday night. No reason, just checking if I wanted a ride home. I didn't want a ride home. I got in the truck. Sleepovers stopped happening, and he never once said no. He'd say, "Sure, if that's what you want," in this flat voice, then mention something we were supposed to do in the morning, and I'd cancel on my own. He never had to be the bad guy. I did it for him. And around then my mother started calling again. I didn't know that. What I knew was that my dad handled the phone. That February, I found his phone in the truck console. Voicemails. My mother's name, 4 of them, weeks apart. I called her back and I hurt her on purpose. She said she wanted to fly me out in July, and I heard myself say, "You don't get to be a mom in July." I was 15 and I could feel how much power I had, and I liked it. I hung up. My hands were shaking. I felt great. My dad was in the doorway. He'd heard all of it. He put his hand on the back of my neck and said, "That's my guy." That was the first time I was ever scared of him. Not that he'd hit me, he never had. Scared because I'd just done something ugly, and the only person whose opinion mattered was proud. So I started lying. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I was in the robotics club at school and told my dad I was working out. That's who I was at 16. A kid with a secret life made entirely of good news. That summer, he bought me a truck. A 94F, 150 with the transmission gone. He pulled a sheet off the hood like a magic trick. So happy I thought he'd cry. "Our project," he said. "We'll have her running by August." We rebuilt it together all summer, and it was one of the best times of my life. And the whole time I knew what I'd been handed. A truck that couldn't get out of the driveway without him. I said, "Thank you." I meant it. I hated myself. Then his mother died. She had left when my dad was 9, and I'd never heard him say her name. After the funeral, we sat in the truck with the engine off, and he said, "She used to call me on my birthday, wherever she was. And I'd sit by the phone the whole day waiting for it." He looked out the windshield, and one year I just didn't sit there. We drove 9 hours home and talked about baseball. And I understood him. It didn't help either of us. In January of my senior year, I applied to an engineering program in Michigan, 4 hours away. I mailed the forms myself, with our home address on them, because I was 17 and didn't know any better. In the middle of May, I called the admissions office. Because I hadn't heard anything. I'd gotten in. They'd mailed it in March, scholarship, work placement, all of it. They needed a signed agreement by April, and when nobody sent one, the spot went to somebody else. Then I went home and opened the junk drawer. It was under the folder, under the graph paper. White envelope, green seal, slit clean along the top edge, the way he opened everything. Utility knife, one pass. He came in from the garage around 6:30. The kitchen at that hour went orange across the cabinet doors. There was a pot on the stove for hot dogs. He had gasoline and Comet on his hands, and he went straight to the sink, the way he always did. I put the envelope on the counter. He looked at it, then he picked his coffee cup out of the sink and started washing it. I said, "You opened my mail." He said, "I was going to give it to you." "When?" He kept running water over the clean cup. "I don't know. After." Then, quieter, "I just wanted one more summer. We hadn't even finished the truck." I said he had no right. My voice cracked. My father turned the water off. He looked at me and said, "You were going to go, and you weren't coming back. Don't tell me you were. I know how it goes. I've been on the other end of it." The refrigerator was humming. Somewhere out past the tracks, a freighter hit its horn. And I said, "Now I know why she left you." And then, because that wasn't enough, "And I'm going to do it too." He set the cup upside down in the drying rack. He dried his hands on his jeans, front and back, very carefully. And he said, "Okay." Then he went outside and sat in the truck in the driveway without starting it. I watched him from the window over the sink, sitting in the dark with his hands on the wheel. The hot dogs boiled over on the stove behind me. Neither of us went to bed until after 1. I moved out in August and took a job at the same marina anyway. We talked every Sunday for 12 years and never once discussed that kitchen. He never apologized. He mailed me things instead, a keychain with a bowline tied in paracord, no note. A few years ago, one of the old guys at the marina told me that back in 1998, the owner had offered my dad a piece of the business. Real money. It meant being away weekends, 6 weeks a year on the road. He turned it down. I was 6. My mother had just left. So the folder was in the drawer because of me? He gave up the only thing he ever wanted, so he wouldn't have to leave a kid alone in a house. And 11 years later, he hid a letter in that same drawer so the kid couldn't leave him. I have never figured out how to hold those two facts at the same time. I have a son now. He's 5. His name is Sam. We still do Sundays at the Breakwall. The 3 of us, the same bakery, the same green thermos, which my father will not throw away. His hands shake a little now. He ties the bowlines slow, and Sam watches. Last month, Sam asked if he could sleep over at his friend's house. I said no. He asked why, and I couldn't tell him. It came out of my mouth in my father's voice, that flat, cheerful, reasonable tone, and I heard it, and I said no anyway. I still have the envelope. It's in a drawer in my kitchen, with the batteries and the tape. A few weeks ago, I put Sam's school folder in that drawer, right on top of it, without thinking about it, and then stood there for a while with my hand on the drawer. People ask me if I forgave him. I don't know how to answer that, so I usually say yes. Here's what's true. When I imagine my father hiding that letter, and I imagine him driving to Arizona and never calling on my birthday, I still pick the letter, every time. I would rather have been kept than left. I don't know what that makes him. I have less and less of an idea what it makes me.